Hello and welcome to this section. In this section, we would like to show you how you can install WordPress web server on an EC2 instance from AWS Marketplace. So in the previous one, we talked about like sale, but in this one, I would like to go a little bit further, and that's going to be more fun because if we start using Marketplace, then we can see the EC2 instance inside the AWS Management Console. We can see it inside the VPC, and we can start working with the security groups and all other features inside the AWS. So that's gonna be more advanced settings. Let's get started. The EC2 console, and it's like we want to install an on-demand EC2 instance. I click on launch instance here, and on the left side we have quick start, and we usually use the first one, which is the Amazon AMI for the Linux machine. But if you look at the left side, we have my AMIs and AWS Marketplace. So go ahead and click on AWS Marketplace. So if you click here, then there's a search option here. You can simply type for WordPress and hit enter. So in this case, we go with the first one, which it says WordPress certified by Bitnami and Automatic. This is the one that actually we can use it, and it's also eligible for the free tier, and we can use it for an installation of a very simple WordPress and start managing it. So go ahead and select this one. The rest, it's like you want to spin up an EC2 instance. You can read the information here. Go ahead and click on continue, and the next step is what kind of EC2 instance type you want to choose. So you can choose whatever you like. I'm going to leave the default settings, so I'll go with the T3 small, which is 2 vCPU and 2 GB of memory. I'm going to click on next for the more details here. So I want to have one instance. I'll leave the rest to the default settings, but basically we are talking about the VPC here and availability zones, any public IP addresses, placement groups, and other details here. And if we need any other options down here in the advanced settings, we can create any scripts that we like. But don't forget that we are using an AMI from Marketplace, which it has WordPress already installed. So we don't need to do anything. So we go with the default settings here and just click on add storage. By default, it is going to use a 10 GB SSD disk, and the format is general purpose SSD and not encrypted. I'll leave this one as default. We'll talk more about the disks in the future, but this is gonna be a general purpose SSD, and there are multiple other options like we have provision IOPS SSD or IO1, and we have magneting standard. I'll leave the default settings here, click on add tags, and as I mentioned several times, tags are pretty important, so I'm going to put a name here and call it WordPress just as an example, and hit next for the security group. In the security group, we can create a new security group like other EC2 instances, or we can choose one of the security groups that we've already created, ITrepo-linux-SG. I'll hit review and launch. You can just read the information here, and when I'm clicking on the launch, same idea, we are going to choose the pair key, or we can create a new pair key for our authentication purposes. I'm going to use the previous or existing key pair, which is ITrepo-linux key, and I'm going to acknowledge this one and hit launch instance. So let's give it some time. I'm going to pause this video and I'll come back in a couple of minutes to see what will happen. We end up coming to this page. It seems that our instance are running right now. I can click on this one, or I can select view instance, go to the page and take a look at it. But before going to there, just make sure that you're reading this page. There are a bunch of informations here because we used Marketplace. It says there are some information here related to our software. We can go to this page and start reading this information related to our WordPress. So it's a good idea. You can check these pages if you like. That's gonna give you more information. Anyway, I'm going to click on view instances here. I'll go to the EC2 instances pages. A bunch of web servers before that they are in a stopped state, but this one, which is the WordPress, it's running right now. So let's give it a try to see if it is working. I'm just going to copy the FQDN and paste it in a new tab to see if I can hit the web page. Just give it a couple of time, and voila, you can see now I can browse my WordPress and it is working. It's just like a simple EC2 instance. The type is T3 small, and it's running in this availability zone, and this is the public IP address, and this is the key name. If I scroll down here in the property, I can see that there's a security group, and I can see the inbound rules, and there are all other details here like the volumes. I can go to the volume. Actually, I can check the EBS volume. This is for the WordPress. I can take snapshots, I can transfer it, I can encrypt it, and I can do technically whatever we did with EC2 instances. So this is brilliant, because if you compare it with the previous section in the light sale, we cannot manage the EC2 instance this way. That was just a very friendly, fancy console, and we were just limited to that console. But here it's a different story, so it is pretty good. You can manage it as a real EC2 instance, and it's really good for us. So let's see how we can go into this machine from two ways. One of them SSH to the box, and another way how we can manage the WordPress content. So for the SSH, it's easy. We did this before. You can just hit on connect here. And this is basically the command that we need to put in our terminal. If it's a Linux terminal or if it's a Mac or OS, for example. And in Windows, you know how you can do it. You can use PuTTY to access. Basically, we are using this private key. This is our private key. This is the user that we are trying to log in, or EC2 user. And this is basically the FQDN of the server or the IP address. We can actually use this IP addresses. That it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I'm going to open a terminal. And if you remember from previous videos, we have the private key here in my directory, and this is the ITrepo-linux-key.pem. This is the private key, and I'm going to paste the command for accessing to this EC2 instance. I'm hitting enter, getting certificate warning because this is the first time that we're accessing this machine, and done. We are inside this box. And this is a Linux machine. You can run commands inside a Linux machine, and you can check services, for example. You can run system ctl status and check, for example, if there is any Apache server running here. This is the way that we can log into the Linux. I'll leave this one aside. Another thing that we should figure out is the WordPress itself. If you want to log into the WordPress, we have to just type /wp-admin, and then we need a username and password to log into this page. How we can get this username and password when we install this EC2 instance from the marketplace? Well, that's a good question. But I don't know if you notice, if I go back or even on that page, there is a manage option right here in the bottom of the website on the right. If you click on this one, it will give you a lot of information that how you can log in to this WordPress platform. And it says the username for the WordPress platform is the user. So here, if I want to log in, actually, if I put /wp-admin, here I have to put user, and the password here, it will give us some information that how we can get the password. I'm gonna tell you how would be this instruction, but you can go inside this one and read it. But basically, the way it works is you have to go back to the console on your EC2 instance, just right click on your EC2 instance, and if you go through the settings here, we have something called instance settings, and in the instance settings we have get system log. Just go ahead and click on this one, and basically here you're getting all the log files related to the EC2 instance. So we are not seeing anything yet. You have to just give it more time for this to appear here. Okay, I'll just wait a couple of minutes and let's give it a try again. I'm going to refresh the console, right click on the WordPress in the instance settings. I'll check the get system log, and yes, now we are seeing something. So there are a lot of logs here, but you have to scroll down basically to find some kind of tables. So there are a couple of tables. One of them is showing the password. So this one, for example, this is just the IP addresses. This is the SSH keys, and if you scroll down, you're seeing something like a box here. It says this is the application password, and this is basically the password. You can easily copy this password, and it says the default username is user. I'll go back to the WordPress login page. So user is here. I'm going to paste the password and click on login, and wow, yeah, we are inside the WordPress. And this is the way that you can do the content management. You can go to the users. This user, it has the administrator role. You can change it, or you can change the name, or you can create more users with the add new user here as an administrator role, and you can start your first website in the AWS. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one.